We're already using includes to avoid repeated code and extends with blocks to override generic content in the layout file with specific content in the index file, and in this lesson we'll use mixins and data in the data file to make the code more efficient. Notice that data.pug contains a variable for the name of the website, an array for the pagination pages, and a JSON object for the cars data. The simplest improvement is to replace the 3 occurrences of lovely cars of yesteryear with the site name variable. At the top of layout.pug, include the data file. Now the variables will be available for use throughout the site. Replace each occurrence of lovely cars of yesteryear with the site name variable. And again in footer.pug. You can use whatever method you like to call the variable. I've used interpolation each time. Save and refresh the page in the browser, and there should be no changes. Next, we can use mixins and iteration through the data to display the repeated code in the pagination list and cars gallery. Make a new folder named mixins, and create a new file in it called mixins.pug. And in layout.pug, include the mixins file. Let's do the one for the pagination first. We'll create it with the word mixin. I'll name it pagination, and we need to pass in the page number variable. We'll use a variable named page, then the contents of the mixin is just one list item. So copy one of the list items and an ahref tag from pagination.pug, replacing the number with hash curly braces page. Then in pagination.pug, below the UL tag, delete all the list items, and indented inside the UL, we'll iterate through the pages array in the data file, each page in pages, and indented inside the each loop we'll call the mixin, plus pagination, parentheses, passing in each array item as the page variable. Save and refresh, and nothing should have changed in the browser. Finally, the gallery of cars. In index.pug, cut out the car div and its contents. In mixins.pug, create a mixin named car, and pass in the 3 items of data we need, the name, image, and price. Then, indented inside that, paste in the code we cut out from index.pug containing the car div. Replace the static code with variables using object literals in backticks for the image and alt tags. For the name and price, we can use interpolation. And then in index.pug, indented inside the gallery div, loop through the cars list object, each car in cars list, and inside that call the car mixin, plus car, parentheses, passing in the variables, car.name, car.image, car.price. Save and refresh, and if it's all gone to plan, you should now see 10 beautiful cars displayed on your screen. We have one last thing to do before the project's complete. At the moment we have loads of HTML files, one for every PUG file, and the PUG files and HTML files are all muddled up together. We need to tidy this up and move the source PUG files into a folder named src for source, and the compiled HTML into a folder named dist for distribution. On the command line, use Ctrl-C to stop PUG watching the files. Then delete all the HTML files with rm ****.html. Use mkdir src to create a new directory named src. Move all the files into the src directory using mv ***src. Make a directory alongside src named dist, mkdir dist. Recursively copy the images folder in src into dist. That's cp-r for recursive src/images space dist. And copy the CSS folder as well, cp-r src/css dist. Now check that you're in the root of lesson 11 and use Pug to watch the project. But this time we won't watch every file and output the HTML of every file. We'll use pug-w src/index.pug -o dist. This time the source is not all the files, it's just index.pug in the src directory. The output is the dist directory, and we no longer need the -p for pretty output. And in the dist folder you should find a minimized version of index.html has been created. In the browser, go to the dist folder and load up the page, and everything should be as it was before. Copy the source code and check that it validates without errors. That's put into practice everything we've done in the course. We've created a dynamic website with a minimal amount of code and no repetition. And if you've got all that, then you're a proficient user of Pug.